What if the Israelites crossed the Jordan River in Utah, not in the Middle East? Okay, this video is just to share a little bit of more detail about the Jordan River that I personally gained some clarity about this week. So I want to show you what I found. Okay, so this thick blue line here is the Jordan River, and we know that it runs from the Sea of Galilee, which is Lake Utah, to the Dead Sea, which is the Great Salt Lake. But when reading the book of Joshua, it talks about how the Israelites were camped near the Jordan River. Let me move my head. And they crossed the Jordan River. God miraculously parted the Jordan, held the waters back near the city of Adam, which I have not found yet. I'm going to go look for that soon. I haven't looked for it. But they crossed opposite Jericho. Now, we know where Jericho is. Jericho is here. And then we also know that they were camped near Mount Nebo in the plains of Moab because Moses had gone up on Mount Nebo and God showed him the promised land, and then he passed away, and then it was after that Joshua guided the Israelites across the Jordan River. But I didn't really understand that because modern day Jordan River only runs from the north end of the Sea of Galilee, which is Lake Utah, and up to the Salt Sea. So, Jericho is further down south, and the Jordan River isn't there. So I wasn't sure, okay, how did they cross against Jericho if the Jordan is north of Jericho and doesn't run all the way down to Jericho? So what I found is that the Jordan River used to also run on the south side of Lake Utah, or the Sea of Galilee. It actually ran from the south this way into the lake. And there is still currently a creek here. So you can see on the map, the lake used to be bigger. There used to be some more water here. There's a creek that runs along here now, but they dammed it up. They dammed up the southern portion of the Jordan River. So right here is Mona Reservoir, and that is the dam they created above the Jordan River, and that would flow down into the Sea of Galilee. So you'll notice that it says in verse 15 that the Jordan have overflowed its banks completely the way it does during the entire harvest season. So that tells us that it wasn't necessarily a huge river all the time, but during certain parts of the years it flooded and they were unable to cross. Which, looking at the setup there currently, I could very easily see how that could be possible, that without the dam there, that at certain times of year it would flood, whereas the rest of the time it's just kind of a creek-sized small river. In the writings of Josephus also confirms this. It says that now it happened that the river ran with a strong current because it was harvest, for the place at which they usually went over was not now fordable. So basically the river was flooded at this time of the year, and they were trying to figure out how to get across, and they had to rely on God's help to do that. In knowing this also tells us that Gilgal is right around that area as well, around the Mona Reservoir. I'm guessing at the Mona Reservoir or downstream from it slightly, because when they crossed at this location, they lifted the 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan and brought them to the camp and put them down. And then Joshua also put 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan where the feet of the priests had stood. So we know that reservoirs are frequently used to hide things. So I don't know if it matches correctly or not. My first instinct was like, oh, maybe Gilgal is under the Mona Reservoir, but I need to do a little more work and see if I can figure out closer exactly where they crossed and stuff on the river. That's just a random thought I had. So I'm gonna go look at it in a little more detail. But I just wanted to share that because it offered a lot of clarity to me, because I was a little hazy in my head where they crossed, because I was like, it's not quite matching up. That part of the river doesn't match. But this is making sense. Like, the Jordan River used to start further back, further upstream than it does currently. Anyway, hope that makes sense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch some of my other videos. I'm happy to answer questions, but please get a little bit of context so we can have a cohesive conversation. Okay, thanks so much. Let me know your thoughts.